the outbursts that emanated from the Eldoret rally convened by UDA and its leader, William Ruto, should not be looked at in isolation. They are simply but a part of a clear pattern that has now been well established. Indeed, I am sure most Kenyans have been hearing the Deputy President, William Ruto, chest thumping and proclaiming that there is no way anyone can snatch his victory. So it appears that there are things that he knows which we don't know. Because the kind of chest thumping he has been exhibiting is unusual. It's very, very unusual. Now linked with the outburst by Senator Linturi yesterday, then you see a clear pattern emerging. But what I want to say is this. First and foremost, the law enforcement agencies should not waste time indulging in so-called investigations. There is nothing to investigate. Once somebody has made such reckless statements in the full glare of the media, in public, in broad daylight, they need to move with speed, apprehend those characters, and take them to court. But more importantly, I don't think apprehending characters such as Mithika Linturi is a solution, because the Linturi'S are simply but a mouthpiece. They are simply acting as mouthpieces of their master. And their master is William Ruto. Their master is William Ruto. And therefore, as they purport to investigate the Linturi'S and indeed arrest them, which they should do, they must go for the owner of the dogs. And in this case, the owner of the dogs is none other than William Ruto. Because what Linturi'S said or uttered in Eldoret yesterday was clearly choreographed. It didn't just happen out of the blues. It was clearly choreographed at the behest of their master. So the DCI, the EACC, the police, and anybody else, the DPP, should go for the master. The National Cohesion and Integrity and Integration Commission Act is very clear on such reckless outbursts. Secondly and finally, on my part, already we have seen leaflets or messages circulating online, messages which contain threats which are clearly directed against the Luo community who are staying or living in certain parts of Rift Valley. Let me say this, that as a community, we can never be intimidated. You can never intimidate the Luo, regardless of who you are. And if you think that by circulating such threatening messages directed against us and our community, that by so doing you will intimidate us into submission, then you are mistaken. Finally, I want to reiterate that we need to encourage peaceful coexistence in this country. As the Constitution clearly indicates or stipulates, every Kenyan has got the right to work, to live, to stay, to do whatever they deem necessary or fit, anywhere in this republic, anywhere. And you heard me say there that we also need, even as people of here, to encourage people from outside to come and invest here, to bring their money here, and to help us prosper. That is how the country can grow. Otherwise, this idea of balkanizing the country under the guise of politics won't help us. We are sure we are going to win this election under the leadership of Raila Odinga. There is no way, as things stand, that any other force can be able to stand in the way of the Azimio la Umoja movement. And therefore, our people should remain calm, wherever they are, and cast their vote and wait for the results to be announced by the IBC, which we are sure will be in our favor.
I have seen UDA leaders trying to downplay the statements that were uttered by Meru Senator Mithika Linturi by trying to suggest that it was actually advising Kalenjins not to elect non-UDA party members. And I want to say that politicians, we don't just say things. All the things you hear us say, they are always choreographed and planned. And yesterday was a very, very important function for William Ruto, because he was actually doing something like what we did in Azimio la Umoja Convention. And therefore the speeches that were made there were discussed, were agreed, and people were appointed to deliver them. And the best person to have delivered the message of Madoadoa had to be somebody from Mount Kenya region, so that the message is sent to mean that the Kalenjins are not interested in fighting anybody. Actually, the real message is that the Kalenjins are warning everybody in the Rift Valley that if you do not vote for William Ruto, you better start packing and leave. And this is a message which we cannot take lightly, and we want to urge law enforcement agencies that there are enough laws on their table that they can use to prosecute this matter. And we want to urge Ruto that we know that he's going to lose these elections, and he's not very happy. He's very bitter, and we are not going to beg him. We want to urge him to lose graciously. And if he's going to cause chaos, I think now this time around we are not going to ask anyone to go to ICC. We are going to deal with the people who create chaos locally. And therefore, I want to say that those statements were planned, and William Ruto must take responsibility for the statements that have been made by his allies. Because those are his allies, he's the one who feeds them, he's the one who buys them, and so they must take responsibility. We are not going to allow him to escape. And he must also be asked, as the convener of that meeting, to take responsibility for the things that his leaders said. In fact, I've even been told that the statements that were uttered by the Kericho Senator, Aaron Cheriot, were even worse than what Linturi'S said, because he spoke in Kalenjin. And we need the law enforcement agencies to go and investigate what Aaron Cheriot said in that rally.
And I think Kenya as a country now can see the difference between Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto. When Raila launched Azimio for Kenyans, it's for uniting the country. And I remind Kenyans every time I have a moment that when Raila went to Meru, he united Munya and Kiraitu. When Raila came to Embu, he united the former Senate and the Governor Wambora. ODM, as a part of Azimio, we stand for unifying the country. We stand for cohesion, and we stand for peaceful coexistence of all Kenyans.
I want to take this opportunity to condemn what happened in Eldoret. The language that was used, is not friendly. It is very, very violent. This country has suffered during election times. People have died. People have lost property, and because of politics. And this is how it starts, by just one or two people talking ill about another community. Azimio la Umoja is telling us one very important thing, that we must live as Kenyans, that we must be united. One country, one nation, one people. But if somebody is against that, then I don't know what kind of leadership he offers. I think Raila Amolo Odinga has what it takes to have come up with Azimio la Umoja, because his mission is to unite the country and to make sure that there is love, peace and unity. And that is why we are for Raila Amolo Odinga.
Just to say that as a member of the National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities Committee in Parliament, the 12th Parliament that oversees the National Cohesion and Integration Committee, this is a matter that needs to be addressed, because it is something that we cannot allow to fester. And therefore, I want to speak and to confirm that indeed, as has been said by the CIA leadership here, starting with Honorable Wandai, this is a matter that all of us have to address. And I conclude because I know what it was like in 2008, and I know that when we have this kind of commotion, then we will find that women and children suffer most. And so I'm calling upon even the women, wherever they are, whichever divide, can you not be cheated? that there will be one side that will win and you will feel that you are safe. I am actually calling on all the women, wherever they are, the political class, the mama mboga, the ones who are in charge. Let us with one voice unite and say we have one Kenya, we will have one elections, we just will have one leader, but we will not, and I repeat, we will not sit back and allow anyone to take our Kenya back where we came from. Thank you very much.
Going forward into the year 2022, our episcopacy has anchored our ministry on a theme taken from Colossians chapter 3 and verses 1 to 4. Set your hearts and minds on heavenly things. For this year, we draw a yearly theme from the same book of Colossians chapter 1 and verses 9, which says, be filled with knowledge of God's will. This is our message to this diocese, that for this year, it will be our prayer and our concerted effort to be filled with the knowledge of God's will. After much prayer, thought and reflection, we write to you, Maseno West family in the Lord. Having considered our context, we hereby reiterate the following. The year 2021 has been a tough year for us as a church and as a people. We have had tough economic times due to COVID-19 constraining conditions. We have lost our dear ones who left us through different ways to be with the Lord. Our children have not had it easy at school, and this list can go on and on. However, despite these many challenges, our God has been faithful in providing sufficient grace. We appreciate the medical staff for their medical services during those tough times. We also take this opportunity to thank the clergy and lay readers for their services to the bereaved and continually giving hope to the church. We also thank all Christians who continued in prayer for God's intervention and sustenance. Let us remain faithful and hopeful. The year 2022 presents yet another one of challenging years, and we urge you to remain vigilant. Wind ja Kristo, kick in need. COVID-19 still remains a challenge and a threat to our existence, and we urge you to take care of your family, your neighbors, by observing the World Health Organization and Ministry of Health containment protocols. Within this year, we will be electing political leaders, and the air is already filled with campaigns. As a church, we call upon the citizens to be prayerful and vigilant as they participate in the process. Take advantage also of this last phase of mass voter registration to register as a voter and play your part. We urge those aspiring for positions of leadership to campaign in civilized and responsible manner. We need peace and pray that you adhere to the electoral laws. We also encourage political tolerance, for Kenya is a multi-party democracy. Let us desist from political zoning. We will also, as a nation, have national exams twice within the year. This will prove too demanding on our children in schools, teachers, and parents. We urge you to tighten your belts and trust more on the Lord, who renews our strength. Our prayer for us as a diocese and Kenya as a people is that the Lord will bring COVID-19 pandemic to an end and restore our disrupted lives. That the Lord will heal our land, restore our economy, and open up financial doors to supply our needs according to his riches in glory. It is our prayer that there be peace during this year of election. And as a church, to the faithfuls, we continually ask God to fill you with knowledge of his will through all wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives in order to live lives worthy of the Lord. May the Lord bless you as you go into this new year with confidence and trust in the Lord. In the name of God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Aside for the gift of life, manya salmi for free. Maseno West Diocese Thanksgiving. There are so many things that we need to give life. Maria Duongodalo, Mondoket Chunye Kamukwe. He's been a great man, somebody. But if you choose to focus on what is not working in your life, then you miss the point. But